Are you doing Google pay-per-click to advertise your practice? Have you done it before, or is it something that you're considering? Well, to put it simplest, there is a right way and a wrong way to go about doing it, and it has nothing to do with the technical aspects. These are all things that are within your control as a business owner. And that's what I want to talk about in this week's episode. You know, why your Google pay-per-click isn't working and how to get it working or what to do about it. My name is Jeff Bloomberg and I'm your host. And for this week's episode, I'm going to be joined by a guest, Mr. Dan Brown, who, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've heard talk on or a guest on the podcast before. Dan's great. Dan is a partner at Bloomberg Digital, a digital marketing agency. He's also a senior consultant here at MGE. And Dan's going to, this is Dan's area of speciality. Dan, we have you all hooked up over there?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Yeah. I didn't ask if you were hooked up like I have been doing. Like, oh, you're all hooked up like I can see you. You're 3 feet away. It just, whatever. So, anyway, all right. So we want to do this episode. I know we're doing a couple digital marketing episodes because this is a big thing. That made me sound old. Like, digital marketing is a thing now. No, it's a big thing, but I guess the biggest thing is seeing people do it and waste a ton of money at it, and they're upset about it.
Right.
And so I'm glad to have you on. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's jump into this. Yeah. So what are the main complaints or failure points you see? So let's say I'm a dentist. I have my practice, and I want to start getting some more new patients, and I want to do Google ads, right? Yeah. So what are the biggest complaints or failures you see when people do this?
Yeah. So hear it a lot. I've been doing it, or I tried it in the past, didn't get the traction I hoped, spent a ton of money, and kind of waited for the phone to ring. Everybody who called was unqualified, some even in a wrong geographical area. And so all I got was trash from it. I wasted a bunch of money, didn't get anything on it, busied up the phone. My staff hated it because, we just got a wrong patient type and we couldn't get to the patients that were the kind of patients we really want. So these are common things I hear.
Okay. And so let's say you're working with a client, because I know you guys do it in Bloomberg Digital. You guys do Google pay-per-click PPC. I'm going to say PPC, folks.
PPC is
pay-per-click PPC management. But so what do you do to fix this? Like, so let's say here I am. I've got my practice. I want to do this. What are you going to do with me to make sure that I have success doing PPC?
Sure. Well, there is some aspect to, there's a technical, how is it being done? There's, a bunch of different ways that people can do it, and you can get fooled by a bunch of different providers. Some providers are doing the things you should do. Some providers are doing things you shouldn't do. And it's hard sometimes to choose that person. So don't get cheap on the provider. Find somebody who knows what they're doing. They've got stats. They've got experience. A friend who's using them successfully, or hopefully a bunch of friends, because they could be a once-off hero with one person. But yeah, so that would be one thing. But
let's say you're working with me, like I'm your client.
Yeah,
you're now guiding me through Google pay-per-click.
Sure.
So what are we doing?
Good. So it's interesting on that one because I have an exact checklist of things we do. We actually train our clients. This is how to launch this thing successfully. And we as a team will actually go through these kind of checklist points and find out, hey, is this in or is this out?
Okay.
First thing, and this is Sabri is the one who will, scream this from a mountaintop louder than anybody I know, is when you hire a marketing company for anything, certainly with Google ads, Google paid ads, but anything, if you have the idea, I've hired this company and now everything should just work, that idea is going to set you up for failure. There is no, I've just hired a company and now do it all for me. There is, of course, what the company has to do, but then what do you do on your end of it to prepare for that?
You're saying, people, I hired a company and I've basically, because the mechanical aspect of what's happening there is you're taking all of your responsibility and assigning it to somebody else.
That's right.
Conversely, I've paid this person and they're supposed to produce certain goods, so they should produce the goods.
They should.
But that kind of answers the buck as to what's the responsibility. I have to make sure they're producing the goods.
Have to make sure they're producing goods, and I also have to treat that lead, that reach, that new patient phone call a certain way. And when those calls start to come in, If it is in fact a wrong area, you're getting people calling from 2 counties over.
Sure.
Then you've got to log that in your new patient call log. You've got to note these things down. You've got to communicate that back to your management team so they can put in what's called a negative keyword. So somehow, maybe they've geo-targeted that ad to be in your area specifically, but Google's an imperfect science, really. I mean, they're going to spend your money as much and as far and wide as they can. So somehow something's ticking in 2 counties over. So now we're going to put in negative keywords and turn that county off. That would be a responsibility of the provider to communicate that back to their management team.
Okay.
They're getting a certain type or a person. They got to communicate that to the management team. That would be one side of what can we do about it.
So like just because I've hired a marketing agency to manage my Google ads, that does not absolve me of responsibility to making sure not only that they're doing their job, but that I'm doing what I need to do to provide them with the proper feedback.
It's huge.
Got it.
It's big. And that's just the beginning. So then now we got leads coming in. Who's the person assigned to deal with that? These are not referrals. These are not people that are right down the road and they saw your sign and they drive by it every day on the way to work. These are people who don't know you from Adam or Eve. So it is vital that you have certain things in place. The first thing, of course, is they've responded to your ad, depending on how your ad is set up. It could be what's called a click-to-call ad. So when they see it on their mobile or whatever, they literally just touch it and it calls your office.
So that's called a click-to-call ad.
Click-to-call ad.
Yeah.
It could drive them to a landing page. So there's a landing page. They're looking for a cosmetic dentist, and it takes them to a cosmetic dentistry landing page.
Now you should probably tell people what a landing page is if they're not familiar.
Yeah, landing page it's a single page website.
So it's a separate website that's really owned by you for marketing a specific thing, whether it's whitening or implants or this or that or whatever.
Yeah, and the importance of that and why Google likes it. So if your ads are set up to drive people to a landing page rather than to your website generically, that's a big no-no for Google. Google doesn't like that. They're not going to expose your ad as much as they would.
If they're going to a landing page versus your website.
Yeah, they're not
really?
going to. Yeah, because you're giving the guy too many choices. I'm looking for a cosmetic dentist, and I go to the website and I can find out all about your same-day emergency procedures and wisdom teeth.
Wait, so let me get this clear. So Google just would prefer to drive somebody to a landing page than to my actual website.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
And even though you give them a ton of money and budget to spend, they will not expose you at the same level that they would if you were sending them to a landing page.
Wow.
Yeah. So good. Now you have a landing page, and that's a much better solution. What's on that landing page? If it's a cosmetic landing page, do you have some before and after photos? Is there a testimonial video? Is there maybe an interview with a doctor and, a couple points from the doctor? Is it personalized, or are they stock images? These we call assets.
Okay.
And if you're lacking assets, then you are in a position where the person has been, drawn to you, and they get there. You've just spent that money because they clicked, huh? They paid per clicked. So you paid for that click. They click, they go there. They see some mundane, ordinary, generic stock images, blah, blah. And it's not exciting. It doesn't scratch the itch. And they're out.
So they were hyped enough to click your thing, but then they get there and it's like, meh, and then they bail.
Yeah. How different? And you could go even check out some of the landing pages in your area. Type in dentist near me, see who comes up sponsored at the top. Check it out. It's going to cost that practice. I hate to say that, but it's going to cost for every click.
So if it's a competitor, I just keep clicking.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, that's bad.
Don't do that. That would be wrong.
Yeah.
Do unto others, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, but you can see what other people are doing, and you got to think about the consumer today. They want big font. They want to move fast. They want images. They are visual. They want social proof. They want to see.
Now, social proof, you mean reviews and videos.
Social proof is what other people say about you rather than what you say about you.
I'm going to translate you from marketing language here.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'll think about that better. Okay, so yeah, it's social proof. What are other people saying about you rather than what you say about you?
Sure.
Of course, you're putting it there, but it's taken a few of your top reviews of cosmetic procedures. It's showing your before and afters. It's showing a testimonial, or what we call a smile reveal video. When somebody lifts the mirror and they see their smile for the first time, and they have that emotional response. Bringing that in there, people are visual today and they're fast. So if you're not there with those assets quick, and you don't make it easy for them to reach out and find out more if they want to, then that's a problem. If then, which most people do, they go to your Google profile. Now they're going to look up the name of your practice. And if your reviews are too few or not good rating.
Now, what would be too few reviews?
Good question. It's relative.
Relative to the other people in my area?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So first of all, you got to have over 150. You got to have over
Period.
100. Period.
Okay.
Period. You're not believable to people if you don't have over 150.
Okay.
If you're not there, that's what we cover at the New Patient Workshop. We, get 15 a week and organically great reviews. Show you how to do that. But so
I should just mention, Dan is one of the main speakers at the MGE New Patient Workshop, which you've heard me talk about on the podcast before. I'll put a link to it on the episode webpage if you want to find out more.
That's power right there. Yeah. That system, that is just, it's crazy how fast you can get to 150. It's crazy how fast you can get to 700 with that system. So that one's easy, but you better have a lot in comparison to what's offered. You might be happy that you're at 150. Yay, I got 150. Fantastic. But the general practices in your area with similar offerings are at 350 or 500. So what we do and kind of the goal in the New Patient Workshop and to set that up, the game is to get your practice to be the most reviewed practice in the area.
And what would we define as our area? So let's say I'm in this area. I'm in the Clearwater, St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay area.
Yeah.
Like, what would be my geographic zone we're calling our area here?
Well, this would be too broad.
Okay.
This would be too, like Tampa Bay area, this would be too broad. So, because of the concentration of people and the concentration of dentists here, I'd stick to, St. Pete or Clearwater.
I got it. Or Tampa Temple Terrace or wherever you might be located.
Yeah, out in Idaho where there's, a couple dentists in the area and it services people who drive 45 minutes, very casually and usually. That would be a different story.
Got it.
Yeah. But take, for instance, we have dentists in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They came on board, with MG, gosh, I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
40 reviews, 42, something like that. I had a dentist right across the street that had 400 reviews.
Oh, wow.
And he just said, I don't even bother. I don't. Why would I even try? I can't get there. I can't touch that guy. And put in the system. Today, he's sitting at over 2,100 reviews. He is 2.5 times more reviews than any other practice.
Wow.
And the number of people who come in on that alone, they don't even ask another question.
Well, it's interesting. I know the client you're talking about, and this client does probably about $7 million a year now.
That's right.
So
That's right. Up from 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that is, so somebody's going to go check out your Google Business Directory.
All right. So you're saying, and I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying, I saw the ad. Let's say it was properly targeted. It had the right verbiage to get me to click.
All the assets.
Is that, as far as getting somebody to click the ad itself?
Yes.
Right? I mean, again, this is a very subjective question. Is that very difficult? Because it seems like most ads are, if that was my problem, are potentially clickable for the most part.
It's not the problem.
Okay, so getting someone to click is pretty easy.
Pretty easy.
So
unless you got an idiot doing it.
Unless your ad's like really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've clicked my ad.
Yeah.
Now they get to my landing page because that's what Google wants to see, and I have a question for you about that. This is from me and the other marketing nerds out there. So they get to the landing page and it's just sort of bleh.
Right.
So then that kills it right there.
Dead.
So you want a lot of pictures, you want before and afters, you want big fonts, meaning big typeface, right? That very visual.
Very visual.
To get the person excited about making an appointment.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that's where we're at so far.
Correct.
Okay. So now here's a question, because I did not know that Google actually preferred landing pages to websites. I thought it was the exact opposite, because I thought Google was, I guess Google's whole algorithm leaked. What was it, about a month ago? And that turned out to be legit.
It's legit.
It's legit. I mean, I know some guy who read the entire, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who have, but I was always under the impression that Google wanted to see a site with just bazillions of words on it.
Yeah, 9 years ago.
Not interesting. Okay, so fine. Yeah. So now here's a question for you. So when you're doing search engine optimization, I know this has nothing to do with this episode.
It's a good question, though. I know where you're going.
Because it sounds like the most important thing is the landing page. Because if I'm not using my website to get new patients through ads, What am I using it for? Mainly for just guys who come to me organically or through search?
Yeah. So two different things, right? So ads and SEO, search engine optimization. So 1 out of 11 people click an ad.
Okay.
10 out of 11 people will not click an ad.
Yeah, I don't click an ad. I usually go to the bottom because I know the ad is going to, sponsored content. It's like it's sometimes half time isn't what I want and it's not open. I was looking for some barbecue stuff. 4th of July weekend, I realized I was missing some stuff. There's a very specific thing I was looking for. And the first 2 sponsored ads were people who didn't have what I wanted and they were closed because they were sponsored.
Right.
So I'm kind of like,
yeah. A lot of people are like you. Some people don't click it because they don't trust it. Some people don't click it because they know that it costs that organization money. They will go down and they will find the organic response for that exact business or whatever.
Well, because I knew the organic response in Google would actually be answering my query.
Right.
So if I'm looking for XYZ item near me, and because it has something to do with barbecuing, the first 2 sponsored ads come up and it's a place 80 miles away, I'm not doing that. Right. Whereas the other ones, we have this item in stock. Right. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. So 10 out of 11 people are going to scroll down and go past the sponsored or paid ad at the top and look for the organic, what we call just non-paid.
Why do
it? Because no, it's a great question. Because
we're kind of killing this whole episode here.
Well, no, because getting to the top of organic is a long, painful, and expensive process.
Okay.
But so worth it. 1 out of 11 people is a lot of people.
That's true. If I get 1,000 eyes on my ad, that means I'm getting almost 100 people clicking.
That's right.
So that's pretty good.
That's right.
All right. I feel better about it now.
So it works. It works, and it works until you get your SEO there.
Got it.
So SEO should be being done in the background, and it needs to be being done by somebody who knows what they're doing, and expect to wait on that. It's not going to happen. Anybody who says I can get you to the top of Google organic in a month or 2 or 3, lying through their teeth. Just impossible.
And if they have questions about SEO, any of the listeners, they can just contact you directly, right?
100%.
And we'll just put your email address on the episode webpage.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. So now we've gone from the landing page, and we're now checking out someone's Google profile.
Yeah, because people will. They're going to go, so listen, I like what I see on the landing page. Some are just going to click right there or fill out a form on the landing page, and that's done. Mm-hmm. Great job. Some are going to say, that sounds good, but let me go check them out on Google.
Now they're checking out your reviews, so you need an adequate number of reviews so you're comparable for your, like good reviews preferably.
Good reviews and a good rating.
Okay, so you want a good reviews and a good rating for your area.
Yep.
And then that should stimulate a phone call at that point. You would hope.
They'll also click on your photos on your Google Business profile.
Okay, so now, I've got lots of questions brewing here. Well, let's talk about that for a second. Yeah. So if photos of my Google Business profile.
Yeah.
So number one, is this something that my marketing company should be adding, or is this something our practice should be adding?
Practice needs to. Should be adding it under your marketing company's direction. Mm-hmm. Marketing companies should be cracking a whip because, you got this, we're talking dentists. I get their emails 5:30 a.m. and at 1 a.m. They're busy.
They're being dentists.
Yeah, dentists and business owners. So it is one more thing to add to the list, but fortunately it's an easy process once you figure that out. Mm-hmm. And ideally you have a new patient coordinator or somebody who's holding that position, who's kind of helping out. They're taking the photos that you're putting on Facebook or on your landing page, and you're also uploading those to your Google Business profile.
So now let's follow this path then for a second. I've gone from the landing page had the correct assets, right? Okay, so good. Now I go check out the reviews for this place.
Yep.
And it's got a 4.7 rating with 500 reviews. Looks good. And usually I'm going to do, I don't know if most people are like me, where they'll sort it by lowest to look at what was the reason for the lowest rating. Because obviously, I know that I'm not going to find a 5. Yeah. Because that's going to be sketchy, right? Especially if it's like 2 reviews and it's 5, it's probably the guy's wife or husband and their kid or sister, right? So assuming that the reviews are good, the rating is good, I'm going to sort it by lowest to find out what was the complaint.
And how did they deal with it?
Yeah, or what was the complaint? Because it might be a restaurant and it was from 4 years ago and they thought their server was slow. Because some people are just jerks, whatever, right? And it's from 4 years ago and the reviews for the last year are pretty good. Yeah. So maybe they had a problem 4 years ago, or a person was just having a bad day and whatever, right? Yeah. But let's say I'm happy with the reviews. So now you're saying the next thing is I'm going to look at pictures on the Google profile. Mm-hmm. And what kind of pictures would you want someone to look at that would increase the chances that this person would call my practice?
Yeah, good question. So certainly photos of the inside. A lot of our practices when they first come to us have photos, but they had the Google photographer. Google has, click here to get a sponsored photographer out. And what that Google photographer will do will clear the office and take photos of the empty office space, which makes the place look like a ghost town.
Sure.
So you want people in these rooms. You don't want a patient sitting in an op with two people in their mouth and there's blood everywhere. You want smiling, happy people.
Maybe doc talking to a patient.
Yeah.
And we get a HIPAA release, obviously.
Yeah. And you want the staff arm in arm.
We could have a fake patient in the chair. That's okay, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like an actual person, not like a fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, showing a mirror, this, that. So we could do some photo type op things. So it looks like people actually come to my office.
Yeah. And then just some casual, practice culture stuff. Like what makes your office unique or fun or interesting and spirited. Those type photos have a lot of power because a lot of people don't like going to the dentist. They walked out of Aspen because they got treated like a number or corporate dentistry. And they're looking for a place that, okay, good. It might not be the cheapest, but it's going to be compassionate, caring, familiar, comfortable, friendly. I'm not going to be being talked down to. I'm not going to be shamed into why I haven't seen a dentist in the last 7 years. So they are looking for these things. Now, somewhere along the line, they might just go, "Uncle, I'm good."
Sure.
But to not have these points in place is now setting up that you're going to lose people. So I say, think this whole process through. Your ideal rating should be 4.9, and 5.0 is fine if you have over 300 reviews. So and yeah, you can have negative reviews. 35% of people don't trust a business that doesn't have negative reviews.
Right.
Don't go getting one. If you don't have one, it'll come. But, the point is it's but just make sure they're all answered. All of these basic things are things we walk our clients through because you're trying to maximize that conversion. Conversion is somebody's seen your ad and then they clicked it. That's conversion. Now they've clicked your ad. Now they're engaging. Are they going to call you or fill out a contact form? That's the conversion. And so we're trying to file down the rough edges that would keep that from happening.
All right. So from an acquisition perspective, so let me ask you, actually, I had one other question to follow up on the Google pictures, or the pictures on the Google page.
Yeah.
Is it just stills or are there videos on there as well?
Can do both.
Now, are those videos automatically posted on YouTube as well or no?
No. And you could do it. You can upload it to your Google business profile as a video and then people won't see it. So you actually have to upload the video as a photo. It's a trick. It's got a 50 megabyte limit. All photos do. So you might have to load
like something that I might have loaded up to TikTok or something like this, something short.
And even if you need to downgrade the quality, testimonials are great. That's a great place to put a patient testimonial. And you just downgrade. You have a video editor, downgrade the quality so it's less than 50 megabytes.
What is if I downloaded an Instagram reel, what's going to be the memory on that? It's going to be over 50?
Totally depends on what it was shot at. So,
okay, the photo quality. Yeah. So you just got to downgrade it a little bit so it's still watchable.
It's still watchable and it just fits within their criteria. So you're not uploading it as a video technically. You're uploading it as a photo.
Got it.
It's a trick.
That's something that I've recommended people too is if you're uploading videos to X platform, whether it's probably not Twitter
not X,
but they're probably not going on X because nobody wants to. Dental tweets aren't a big thing.
Yeah.
But if they're uploading to Facebook a video, testimonial video, they should also upload it to YouTube and upload it to Instagram,
TikTok, and your Google business profile.
Okay, good. So it's sort of like hit all of those.
Hit everything. Yeah. We have a platform where it's one click. So you want to upload something, you hit one click and it goes everywhere. So you don't have to have all these logins.
That makes life easy.
So much easier.
Yeah. No kidding. All right. So then, assuming they've gotten through all of that, they clicked the ad, the landing page worked, it made them go to reviews, assuming they haven't called for an appointment yet. They looked at the reviews, they looked at the photos, they're ready to go. They call the practice now.
Yeah.
Right. And I know this will come in on probably going to come up a couple times as we talk about this digital marketing stuff. But so now you mentioned earlier that, people have dropped Google or Google. I'm just going to say Google ads from now on because the staff didn't like the patients or this or that or whatever. Where are the biggest problems there? So now I called, hey, I was looking for a dentist near me and I need to get my teeth cleaned. And the person's answered the phone. How does that fall apart?
So first of all, you got to answer that phone in the first 2 rings. 3 rings on the outside. So if you don't have that set up, you need to have that set up. You have to have coverage and somebody can answer that phone. Second, you got to have somebody who knows how to answer the phone. That's a huge point. That first impression is lost after that phone call. There is no going back. So, what Jeff Santone covers in New Patient Workshop really and hammers that in those.
So we've done some episodes with Jeff too, where we talk about receptionist issues or whatever.
So important.
But would you want the receptionist specifically trained to handle a Google ad call? Is it going to be that different from a postcard call or something like this?
It would be to this degree. Let's say 7 out of 10 of those ad calls aren't the right fit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's usual. So your receptionist has to be set up to such a degree to get the data, note the data in the log to get back to the management team, so they can, the management team.
You mean like the marketing management team?
Marketing management
people you've
team.
hired.
Yeah. Your ads company. So they're casting this massive net. They're throwing this big net out there. Geographically, demographically, they're throwing a big net. And you're getting that feedback back to them so they can draw in the corners and really hone in on the patient type you want. So that person has to be very tolerant for what we might consider the waste or the non-ideal responses initially.
And they have to document, okay, this patient called, they wanted to know blah, they did blah, this doesn't fit the type of patient we're trying to market to because we're marketing for implants or this or that or whatever. So that when they have whatever your meeting frequency is with your marketing company, you can tell them like, yeah, we're having problems. Here's what they are.
That's right. That's right. And that you're going to get that always, even after the first 2 to 3 months of your Google Ads management, you're still going to have that. And I say that because the person who's answering that phone has to be tolerant for that. They have to know that it might take 10 phone calls to get 3 appointments.
Okay.
So, if you need to hear no, or no, that's the wrong person 7 times before you get 1, that's okay. But if a person is intolerant at the front on the phones and begins to go tainted about, they actually, you can hear it in their attitude, like, oh, is this just another trash call? Then you're sunk. And, I heard this saying a while ago, door-to-door sales. Remember door-to-door sales?
Sure.
Right. And they were some of the best salespeople. And how did they do it? How would you go through a day of hearing no 99 times and hearing yes once? And a good salesperson would just say, good, that's one more no. Next. I'm one step closer to my yes.
Right.
And there was an attitude about it. Oh, good. Look at that. I'm already up to 75 no's. I'm almost there.
Well, and the beauty of this is if, as the receptionist, I'm doing this and I'm providing the proper feedback to the manager who's talking to the marketing company, eventually I'm going to be getting more and more of what I'm looking for.
That's right.
So that's an integral part of making this thing work.
Huge. Yeah. So, and you're going to have whoever's answering the phone. You might have 2 or 3 people that cover the phones, so they all kind of need to be briefed on this. There's an education about that. There's a way to make this snap and pop. Thank you for calling ABC Dentistry. This is Dan. How can I help you? Oh, fantastic. Absolutely, I can help you with that. What's your name? Great. And what's the best number to call you right back, just in case this call drops? Thanks, Anthony. Hey, Anthony, last question. Can I find out how you found out about us? Oh, great. That really helps us. And that person's keeping that process fast and ideally moving that phone call now over to our new patient coordinator. That is somebody who is not on the front answering the phones.
This is assuming the volume justifies that, which this is always a conundrum for a lot of practices, especially when you increase call volume. They may not have a new patient coordinator. So then you have a receptionist who's trying to check another patient out and the phone's ringing and they're trying to hand a new patient call. So it just makes the office look like garbage to that prospective new patient because it sounds like the receptionist doesn't have time for them.
Which is a heck of a communication.
Yeah. Plus, or the receptionist sounds frustrated because it's
rushed, etc.
It's something you got to keep an eye on.
And that's why I do challenge our practice owners on this one. You might not have a dedicated full-time new patient coordinator, but even that, so you assign it to somebody else other than the receptionist or who's answering the phone. But even that, that new patient coordinator can be hired relatively inexpensively. They don't need to have a dental background. They don't need to have all these super skills. They have all that available from what we provide and you provide, from a, quick learning.
Oh yeah, it's easy to train.
Easy to train them. And that's a person who's going to be going to Op3 to get a before photo, Op5 to get an after photo, post the stuff on social media.
Taking the new patient calls.
Taking the new patient, new patient tour. For pennies, you're getting a person to do functions that you've never done before and getting assets and doing all these things. Who wants that job? Your office manager better not be doing that.
Yeah.
But is going to be doing that.
And they're probably too busy being the treatment coordinator.
Yeah. So, exactly. So, and it'll ultimately fall back on the doctor owner. And that's the last thing we want he or she to be doing, but necessary in this day and age to have those assets on Instagram, on your Google business profile, on Facebook, on your website. So for, $15-20 an hour, get that person in there.
Well, this is interesting. Let's talk about this for a sec, because this whole new patient coordinator position.
Yeah.
So what we're expecting this person to handle is the incoming new patient calls.
Yep.
They wouldn't necessarily answer the phone. The receptionist
handoff.
would, but if it's a new patient, it's over to the new patient coordinator.
And they could be cross-trained, to be able to handle it.
Sure, because some people, they might be on the phone with another new patient.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so new patient coordinator is handling this, but we also want our new patient coordinator focusing on social media activity, patient testimonial videos, interfacing with the marketing company. And what would you, just so that the people out there listening thinking, well, okay, should I hire one of these people? What would you expect? Like how many new patients, assuming that the marketing spend is where it needs to be or whatever, how many new patients a month would you expect a new patient coordinator to be generating for a practice?
Yeah, well, I think if you had a person who had been moderately trained and was doing, half of what we advise, that person alone, through just asking for referrals, will be generating 20 to 30 new patients a month.
So if I have a full-time new patient coordinator between marketing, referrals, and everything else, we're probably looking at like 70 to 100 new patients if we're going all out, or 60, or like a good volume. And we're really zeroing in on the type of patient I'm going for.
Right.
Maybe I'm into heavy restorative work or whatever. So we should be flooded with new patients.
Yeah, and they're paying that pays for that person, 10 times, 20 times over. And people say, well, when should I get one? Yesterday.
Right. Interesting, because usually we'd see this with a larger practice.
Yeah.
But, this is where I think to a degree corporate's giving the average dentist trouble, because if I call a corporate office, a lot of these corporate offices are hidden now. You don't really know they're corporate.
Yeah.
I'm getting a call center.
And a good one.
Right. This person knows how to handle me.
Trained. Yeah.
And they're going to schedule me in the appropriate practice. I'm not talking to a receptionist who's fighting the ringing phone and the this and the that.
Somebody checking in, somebody checking out.
Right.
FedEx delivering. Here comes a lab case. It's, Yeah, it's a tall order to give all those functions to one person. And, you and I see it all the time. We have these miracle workers, these, absolute diamonds that can handle this stuff somewhat.
Right.
I don't know that it's fair to put that on them.
But what if there's two new patient calls at the same time and a patient checking out? And it's just not going to work.
That's right.
There's only so much a person could do or so many places a person can be.
That's right.
Yeah, good point. So you have a checklist for a lot of the items that we discussed in this episode that we have as a download, which is cool. So if you want to take a look at this and hold this up against your pay-per-click, Dan has a checklist. I think it's called, if I could see it here real quick, it's called Top Google ad marketing mistakes. So we're offering that up as a download. I'll put the link to it on the episode webpage. You can check it out, obviously. I did have one other question.
Yeah.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure people knew that because you brought that with you. Yeah. Timing with my ads, because I've seen some people run into this at times, is they have ads running at 3 a.m, but nobody's in the practice.
Yeah, that's wasteful.
Okay.
Wasteful. Unless you have a service and it's a live service.
Okay.
If you got a live service, rock and roll, because now you're going to be
If it's
picking
an
up.
emergency and they're calling me now at 3 a.m. to come treat
If
this
it's an emergency,
patient,
you'll have a
I don't wanna
backup
do
practice. You'll have a backup practice. Like, listen, I don't have lines hours right now to actually deal with patients, but we do have a practice that we can refer to. But you can then open up your Google Business Directory and your ads to run at hours that everybody else is not running. They're cheaper. Your conversion rate is much higher.
I almost wonder, assuming it's not emergency patients, right? But I almost wonder if it wouldn't be, because one of our clients in New York did this. It was actually Rushi. Rushi was on the show a while back. And Rushi and Shilpa, Dr. Shilpa. What he did, because they're in Queens, or one of their offices in Queens, and they were noticing he was missing a lot of phone calls on Sunday, Saturdays, like days they weren't in the practice.
Sure.
So at first, and I might be telling this wrong, I think we talked about it in the episode I had him on. He's had somebody, one of his team, he kind of round robined it, but he had his team agree to answer the phone till 9 or 10 at night. Like he kind of just circulated, maybe 9. And then Saturday and Sunday, I might have the hours wrong on this, but it threw the new patients through the roof.
Yeah.
Because then there was someone to answer the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could get a service. I mean, it's an ask of your staff. He's got,
Right.
I mean, what they've done, I mean, they've implemented MGE to the letter.
Right.
So they've got, just an amazing team. But, you may not have that team and you may not have those resources and, maybe your team members.
But I'd want to look if I'm getting a bunch of phone calls. Well, even if I had, let's say I'm doing what you're saying. So I'm running ads, until 2 a.m. or something like that. Because I've seen some of these Google form ads.
Yeah.
Right. Which is another thing. Sorry. Questions. Or just points to mention. Someone will go to your landing page and usually a person can call or they can fill out a form. Right. But I've seen form ads put in at like 4:22 in the morning. There's nobody in the practice at that time, which that's another thing. I noticed a lot of practices are just thinking with the Google ads, they're going to create a phone call. They're not actually checking the forms coming in on their dashboard. So they miss form ads.
Which the new patient coordinator would pick up, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then let's say I see, gosh, I'm getting a ton of phone calls from 6 to 10 at night or something like this. Or like maybe I pilot it where I have a service who's going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And I pilot a time not a lot of guys are running ads. And then all of a sudden I get a barrage of phone calls. Well, then it might be worth, don't you think, training somebody who's sharp at that because they're going to be better than an answering service I'm using. Sure. Right. But interesting concept.
Yeah, I'd say, I'm looking into this service and I spoke to them just 2 days ago. And they do that. They professionally do that for practices. They have scripts and
So they're like good at making appointments. Because most answering services is like doctor's office.
Right.
I'm calling for, they're not in the practice. This is the answering service. Would you like me to, is it an emergency? And it's like, no, it's fine. I'll call back tomorrow.
Yeah. So you know how Aspen has that call center and they've got some really great. So this company handles 1,000 of the Aspen practices.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're pretty good. And I've seen their stuff. So, again, I think that whether it's that or you Google something locally and give, a couple answering services a call, kiss a couple toads to find your prints.
Right.
And then now all of a sudden you've got this, run it. Even if you just got one more new patient a month,
true.
It's worth it.
Well, imply the ads are cheap at that time.
Super cheap. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But there is one last thing
Sure.
that I'm going to say is a common failure. We've covered a lot of great stuff. Another thing is now you've got the person in, obviously your reconfirmation process, your scheduling process, that all has to be nice and tight, but that has to be tight for any type of patient, right? So the person comes in, you've got to have your ability to sell. That came up as one of our top points with regards to.
Well, yeah. And that's a whole other podcast episode.
Yeah.
Well, because I could look at it. I'm getting these patients in, my new patient coordinator did their job. And if I'm terrible at closing, it's most people. I mean, this is just something I've seen with my executive background is people are happy to claim responsibility when they do something good, right? Oh, look what I did. I closed this case. But then when they didn't close the case, it's like, nah, man, it's not I blew the close. It's, that person, this guy, that, the other. It's nobody wants to be, responsible for the bad stuff.
Right.
So it's very easy. I don't close the case. Oh, well, it's just a low quality new patient. They had a low dental IQ and whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe this is bold to say this. If you're not closing 80% of your cases, the problem is not your patients. Right. It's you. Right.
So that came up as a main factor. And we have it easy because so many of our Bloomberg Digital clients are MG clients.
Right.
And one person just said to me, they're a new client for Bloomberg Digital, but they've done the ABCs. They went through. I
have to tell people what the ABCs are the MGE communication and sales seminars. It's 9 days of sales training. I'll put a link to it on the episode webpage.
And, they've been through 5 marketing companies.
Yeah.
And, now they're with us. And I could say, they're closing, now with us. Their conversions are amazing. Their marketing is now working.
Yeah.
And I talked to the doctor. He's like, yeah, all we did is we just started applying what we learned in the last 2 ABC seminars. And we now realize we just didn't know what we were doing.
Right. Well, that's what I've seen and I know we're going to do an episode on implant funnels.
That's right.
But that's where I see implant funnels go wrong.
That's right.
They get the lead and then they just blow it.
That's right.
Yeah. Sales is an interesting thing. I could go on forever.
It's not an easy thing, but when you think, well, I've said all the things and this is what a person should do, and I advise them, and I reckon I can't make them do the treatment.
Right.
All of those things are true, but there are things, as we both know,
Sure,
that can be done to increase, patient engagement and get their interest in going forward, and then overcome those objections.
totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan, this was awesome. I appreciate it. So we've got that download of yours.
Yeah.
I have the links to the new patient workshop and the MGE communication and sales seminars on the episode webpage. I also have this link to Google ad mistakes if you guys want to see these, because this has a list of the mistakes and what to do to fix them. And you can check this against the Google advertising you're doing now. That's free. Otherwise, Dan, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
And folks, thank you for listening. I hope this helps. And if you have more questions about MGE, I've also got Dan's email address on the episode webpage if you have questions for Dan. If you have questions about MGE, you can find us online at mgeonline.com or call us at 800-640-1140. Have a great week, and we'll see you the next episode.